Good morning, everyone. Aloha kakahiaka, and welcome to Living in Hawaii. I am Misty Padilla, born and raised here in Kailua Kona, and I have the privilege of being in the presence of these lovely ladies today as we discuss feeling alone in Hawaii and how to make real friends. Let's go ahead and get started. Danielle, you are from the island of Maui at this time. If you can go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll continue on with Josie, and then followed by Rachel. Good
Aloha,
morning.
good morning. I am Danielle Harris from Maui, born in Oahu and raised on Maui, beautiful Maui. We have 9 children and 8 grandchildren, and we are so blessed.
So beautiful. Girl, you're catching up with me. I am a big blended family of 10 children. And yes, indeed, very, very blessed. Also on Hawaii Island, we have Josie. Go ahead and share a little bit about yourself, dear.
Aloha all. I'm Josie Coleman. I live here on the Big Island. I live down in Ocean View, and I don't have any kids, but I do have a lot of fur babies, and they are just very noisy a lot. And yeah, I love having them. I brought them over from the mainland, so that's how much I love them.
So awesome. Welcome, welcome. And how about for you, Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel Conley. I'm also on the Big Island. Actually, Josie and I live in the same area, down on the south part, kind of by South Point on Big Island. And I have 2 kids, 2 cats, and 1 dog fur baby. So.
Very nice. And the beauty of all of this being, blessed to live in Hawaii and in paradise is we all got acquainted and accustomed with each other by simply being in the same line of duty with what we do on the islands. And I'll let you ladies share about that. But we were able to become new friends as well. So I think we get to speak very, very well into this topic this morning. For those of you joining us, thank you. Livinginhawaii.com. We would love to be your trusted local resource for all things Hawaii. So thank you again for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and let's talk about our culture first. Josie, I'm going to start with you being our most recent one, to Hawaii Island. Go ahead and share your experience. What made you choose Hawaii first and foremost to call home?
Yeah, so I decided to move to the Big Island after visiting. It's probably been 4 or 5 years ago. And I really loved the people. And I want to distinguish, there's a difference between when you're visiting and when you move somewhere. I've lived my whole life in tourist towns. So I was very aware that when you go to visit somewhere, and Hawaii is full of aloha. I mean, you come here, you feel loved, and you feel just the energy of love and the energy of aloha. And that is true. And it is wonderful when you're visiting. I know from just growing up in tourist towns that it's different. When you move somewhere, you're not being catered to, you're not staying at the hotels. You have to develop your own life. So I knew when I came here to basically be an observer for a while. And for me, it was brand new because yes, it is a tourist destination, but it's a completely different culture. It's not like, living on the mainland. I lived in Oregon. It's not like you live in the city and you go to the beach. It's completely different. So honestly, I did a lot of studying before I came. I read history books, both fiction and nonfiction, just to get the idea of what might be different. And then I just observed. I really observed when I came here. And I was so lucky, actually, to fall in with all of you guys because respect is a really big thing for me. And moving to a new place and being able to show that respect and then have people kind of lead me through what it's like to live in a new place. And Rachel, I call her my gateway drug to the friends that I met. And Rachel and I are actually shockingly from the same hometown. I was born in Napa, California, and Rachel was born in the same area. And I went to high school with one of her siblings. So
That's amazing.
It was an amazing connection. Yeah. So it's a small world.
It totally is. We always say it's a small world, but big island, right?
Yes, exactly.
And you hit it on point, Josie. Thank you so much for doing your due diligence before planting feet on solid grounds, and so true is we are in the state of aloha, and it is the law. People don't realize that we do have a law that you must live aloha daily, and thank you so much, for being open to that, respecting it, and then researching it. And like I said, born and raised Hawaii Island, I've traveled a lot, but of course, as we're raised, we are always taught, you take care of everything and you leave better than how you found it. Like, that's just how it is. You go to the beach, however you find it, you leave it in better condition. And that's just something that I think we all need to soak that all in our daily lives, and thank you so much for being such a good steward of that. Danielle, let's go ahead and move on over to you and talk about your culture experience and how you'd like to go ahead and share with the world on your view of our culture here in Hawaii.
Oh, wow. We are so privileged, blessed to be on Maui and just being stewards of aloha. I take it so seriously. I say aloha in my texts, my emails, every time people call. I take it seriously. I wave on the street to tourists, residents. I teach my children. We're just so blessed to be stewards of aloha, really. Ambassadors of aloha. My husband is actually from San Diego, and he went to college with several people from Hawaii, and he loved, what is it about these people? He needed to know. And then, of course, Samoans from Hawaii and Samoa, very similar, their culture, very high respect to each other, for each other. So he's been here for 30 years. And he's been a football coach and a teacher at one of the local high schools. And he also takes it so seriously to be aloha, to teach aloha, and to live it.
So true. If you really think of this, if everyone was in the state of aloha every day, can you just imagine how much more pleasing our island, our state, everything, if everyone just really walked in aloha daily, how much more of a better place this entire world would be, right?
Yes.
Rachel, go ahead and share with us, dear, on the same topic that we're talking about, culture. How can you go ahead and share your experience?
Sure. So that was the first thing that hit me when I moved here, was people were so friendly. They really showed aloha. They looked at you in the eyes. It was more, it was more personable than on the mainland. I mean, I grew up in two small towns, so I would feel some of that. But when you went to a big city in the mainland, people don't look at you. It's just like, go on with your life, basically. So aloha is so alive here, and I love it. And just being able to raise kids here and teach them the culture, I feel truly blessed.
Indeed, we are so blessed, 100% without a doubt. At the same time, yes, we can go ahead and talk about living aloha, sharing aloha, and everyone that has aloha, they experience the beauty of it. But on the other side, reality is there are those that clearly do not live aloha, and we have to take account for that. Josie, how do you go ahead and process when you come across someone in Hawaii that is just not aloha? In your experience, how do you process that?
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty good at being able to take a step back and look at what's happening. Like, here's my example. It took me a long time to get mail when I first moved here, and I just had to let it go, just be like, it's going to take me a while. And I went into this one post office again and again and again. I had to talk to the postmaster a lot. And every time I talked to her, I was like, listen, I know that you've got 100 of me that you're dealing with today. So I just want to say aloha and, hello, like, you're a human. And it was just that I think kind of relaxing and taking a step back and looking at what's happening, because I didn't know until later, after I got to know this person I was interacting with. She was a substitute for the postmaster. She was like just spinning her wheels. She had so many things going on. She was so overwhelmed. And I was like, yeah, see, there's always a story that's behind why the person is maybe coming off not so full of aloha, and it is helpful for me to think of that, because sometimes I'm in a bad mood. And if I snap at somebody, or if I'm like, having a look on my face, I'm like, it's because something's going on. So taking a step back is really helpful, because getting things done can be stressful for people, and just kind of slowing down a little bit, that helps as well.
So true, and thank you for recognizing that and embracing all things. On that note, it's so funny. I always say, you can truly test the aloha spirit if you go to the DMV or to the post office in Hawaii. You will truly see true colors of people. I mean, talk about really trying to live aloha. I'm sure you ladies can speak into that as our Department of Motor Vehicles and the post office. So
Add Costco to that.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. During peak hours, right?
Oh,
Yep.
And it's crazy packed. Yes.
yeah.
So crazy. And that's true with with what Josie said. It taking a step back, try being the better person. It's really, really hard. Don't get me wrong. Being born and raised, and of course seeing the transitions from growing up of how we were raised, and then now trying to raise our children. I can no longer do the things that I used to do as a children and allow my children to do that, because it's just different. It is so different. And, we just continue to pray that everyone can just spread that spirit of aloha. But we are in truly different times. Danielle, go ahead and share with us that experience on Maui.
Oh, isn't it so different? I feel that I needed to pivot and just come from a place of, no matter what, I will still give aloha, because you never know what people are going through, right? They won't say it, they'll just react. So that's what I tell my children too, is just, that's okay, doesn't matter, just still give aloha. And this driver actually flipped me off and like cut in front of me, and I'm like, okay, and he's flipping me off driving like, oh, I got it, but okay, like just wave and aloha, like
Aloha, have a blessed day.
I'm not going to let you steal my peace. Like Rachel said, just relax, just kick back and take it slower. Was that Josie? Sorry. But yeah, just don't expect aloha back, just give.
Beautiful. How about for you, Rachel, in your experience? How do you process when you come across someone who is just not being aloha?
Just like Danielle said, I just give it back. Well, aloha, give them a smile, look in the eyes. You don't know what they're going through. You don't, but that little gesture can change their whole day. So I think it's just giving more love, more aloha back is kind of how I deal with it. Or I just don't react if I don't know what to do, or if I find myself going, oh my God, what a whatever, So yeah, just give it back. And I try to teach my kids that too. It's not always the easiest, but yeah, give that aloha back. You never know how it's going to change their day, their life.
Right. That's so beautiful, and that's something that we all need to keep in our forefront. Is on that note is, yes, you come across someone that is just not having aloha, you just give it back 100-fold. And that's just beautiful. If everyone did that around the world, can you just imagine how that would be? That's just so amazing. Let's go ahead and Josie, I want to have you share with us, how did you go about with meeting new people? What was your first go-to in being acquainted and trying to make friends when you first got to Hawaii, or prior to coming to Hawaii?
Yeah, I'd say when I first got here, it was basically seeing the same people when I would go to the beach where I lived. And so I would just start to say hello and, just kind of slowly get to know people that way. And then the thing that I intentionally did was find out where the community center was. So there's, open air markets here twice a week in Naalehu and Ocean View. So it was easy to start seeing people doing the same thing. There's always somebody with a booth about a community project. And so I looked up, I love to advocate for like mental health. And so I found that there was Root and Rise, which was a nonprofit that works with people for positive mental health. And I thought, okay, that's great. I started to reach out to people that were doing the same thing that I like to do. And then I found the community center here, and they have events, and I just started going to events, and you start to see the same faces. And again, I kind of, because I'm from tourist area, the dominated places, I know just just come in, kind of chill. It's always the people that come in and say hello to everybody and then talk about how we all need a McDonald's built in the town. That doesn't go very well. So that was kind of nice. And then actually how I met Rachel was literally going to the watering hole, where everybody they can fill up their water tanks. And I met Rachel's husband, and we were talking about real estate. And he's like, oh, my wife's a real estate agent. You should meet her. And so that I just called her up. He gave me her card. I called her up. We had lunch, and that was, like I say, the gateway.
Oh,
And the rest is history.
Exactly.
How about for you, Rachel? How can you go ahead and elaborate that? What was your go-to in meeting new people here?
Yeah, so I moved here 3 times, but 2 times really, because the first time was only a month. But I moved here without kids the first time, and it was through working at a restaurant in Kona that I met a ton of people, just coworkers. And then the second time I felt really blessed because I came over with my son being 2, and we went to a preschool. It was called Tutu and Me, which is like a Montessori style traveling preschool. It's so awesome, and they teach Hawaiian values. And I met literally everyone I know through that. It was like through my kids. So that was a way to really connect with a lot of local people. And then also, farmers markets, and then working, at a local cafe I knew basically everybody through that. So yeah, just really work is helpful to meet a lot of people. I feel like that's kind of number one, but and through your kids, through schools.
Networking and collaboration is gold, right?
Yes.
How about for you, Danielle? What can you share with us?
ooh. So if you're coming to Maui, I would suggest coffee shops in your neighborhood or other neighborhoods. Always friendly, happy people with their coffees. So many and different types. There's Starbucks everywhere. But then there's beautiful, amazing local cafes or coffee shops. The other thing I'd like to suggest also is Facebook groups in the areas of interest whatever interests you the most. We have so many markets throughout the whole island. Every week we have Sunday night market. We have Saturday swap meets. We have in the middle of the week Saturdays in Kihei. There's just so many places. And then our community calendar, there's just everything that you would want to join or be a part of. Also volunteering in places that most interest you. I feel that there's just so many opportunities to meet people. And church, of course. There's such amazing people at different churches.
Beautiful. Those are amazing places. And from there, your circle will just continue to grow and grow and grow, especially if you have children, and even if you don't. But that's also another whole new avenue is, through the workplace and through school, through children, through church, all the things. These are all beautiful places that you can all network with others. So thank you, ladies, for sharing. How would you approach someone respectfully, that you see? What would be your most respectful and approachable way, Rachel? How would you go about encountering such a person?
Right. Well, I always, just like anybody, I try to find a common ground, something that we're both interested in. If we're at a farmer's market, at a certain booth, start talking story about what we're buying. Yeah, it's just really kind of reading the energy of the person. And sometimes maybe they don't want to talk, and sometimes they do. So you kind of test the waters with a little bit of, chit chat conversation and kind of see where that goes. That's my style, is I just kind of wait and listen, kind of see where they're at and if they want to engage more. If not, then just, have a beautiful day, aloha, and you move on to the next. But yeah, just be yourself and, be open.
And read the room, right?
Read the room. Read the room.
Yes.
How about for you, Danielle?
I love one of our team members, Karen from Oahu. She loves to go in the odd vegetable area in grocery stores. But what do you do with that?
So good.
That's such a funny way. I feel that I love to meet new people, and you can tell when people are not from here. I love to make them feel welcome. I used to be a concierge for years, so I know how people feel in that way. And so I just love to smile, and usually I'm the friendliest face. So when I make eye contact and smile at them, they're like, oh, and they usually just ask a question or bring something up or yes, start a conversation.
So funny you said concierge, Danielle, as I too was at concierge at Hualalai Resort for so many years. And
Oh, of course you were. You're such a queen.
I feel that, now that you're talking about that, it's like, oh my goodness, you naturally just give aloha no matter what. Even if you read the room and that person across you is just not being aloha, you just give them aloha back 100-fold. And believe it or not, by the end of that conversation, they have converted. They have changed their whole dynamics from the top of their head to the soles of their feet, and they can feel you. It's like your mana has to be so much greater than theirs, so that spirit can just transcend into them, and they become so full of aloha by the time they leave your presence. So that is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. How about for you, Josie? What can you go ahead and share?
Yeah, I love what everybody has said, all three of you. And I think the thing that I always have to think about is I'm actually naturally very shy and get social anxiety. So I have to be ready with my pregame. I'm fine with the respect, but sometimes I have to before I go out, I have to do my pregame of filling myself up and feeling grounded so that when I do go out, if I do try to engage with somebody and they're not receptive, then I'm not taking it personally, because it's you never know why, I can think I'm being chit chatty and I might come across as annoying, so, but if I'm in a place where I know why I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm out and about being social, I've kind of got my pregame set, I feel grounded. That really helps because then I don't take things personally. And so
Right.
I think that is part of the respect, is not taking things personally.
So true. So true. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. So important, Again, that segues into, how you treat people respectfully. For me, I just immediately start with the word aloha, wherever it may be, aloha, does this cart belong to you? You mind moving your cart? All these different scenarios is always just start with that word aloha. And like we said, if they don't give it back to you, you just magnify it and give it back to them 100-fold. As everyone knows that word, right? If you say that word, you come with aloha, it should immediately be able to break walls down. I have never, ever come across someone that would say the word aloha and mean it negatively, right? Can you imagine if someone, they look at you grouchy and they're like, aloha, it's like, don't say it if you don't mean it. So immediately as you say that word, that should immediately be like, you know what, I come in peace, we can be friends. Let's go ahead and really, be aloha living every day, everywhere you go. Danielle, what is your best advice on how to build trust over time as you get acquainted or meet new people? How do you go ahead and build trust over time?
Being consistent with the aloha is key, hands down. Yes.
So true. How about you, Josie? Can you add on to that?
Yeah, I would say keep trying. I know as somebody who's not born and raised here, I just have to keep trying with the language and really, and even just using the word aloha, feeling comfortable, not feeling like I'm, taking away from a culture. I'm actually just being respectful by using their language. And so I just keep trying, keep trucking.
So true. And that's, again, how we were raised, is, again, think of what you can contribute back to the land and back to the people of Hawaii. What can I give versus what can I get? And we were always raised as you give more than what you get, without expecting anything in return. Is, if someone just, ask for $1, give them 5, give them 10, give them 20, you just give more. And that's just how I was raised. Of course, different members in our family, extended lines, not everybody's raised that way. You have so much different culture experiences that not everyone's raised that way. So you cannot always expect that same thing in return. And then I'm going to go ahead and use this as an example as we're talking about this is in our line of duty, we also do security on Hawaii Island. And we deal with a lot of people that are just so not aloha. And if at any time, when we have these encounters, there are some moments where you do need to, I don't want to say set aloha aside, but you're going to have that intention of aloha within you, but your approach has to be different. Because when we deal with like the vagrants on the island and you try to be aloha to them and they're just like, no, 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 they're trying to pull knife and guns and all these things on you. Like, it's just reality. It does happen here. That's when we just need to pivot the entire situation. And we really got to strategize on how to approach these situations with trying to use aloha, but yet being smart. I mean, again, you can't mistake an aloha for weakness. I guess that's really where I'm going at is there's going to have a point in time where, yes, come with aloha, but at the same time, you have to have discernment and use wisdom in trying to process these different scenarios. You get where I'm going here, ladies? Again, reading the room, right? Read the room.
Exactly.
Rachel, if you can share with us, on down living in the South area, I'm sure you folks experience, because not everything is going to be fluffy and full of aloha. How do you go ahead and process being safe first and foremost? How do you go ahead and encounter such situations where it's just not an aloha moment, but yet you're trying to navigate these territories? Go ahead and share any of your experience with us.
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty blessed that I don't put myself in a lot of those situations. I do a lot of preemptive work to not be in that situation. You know what I mean? My mom was raised in a pretty big city, so she kind of gave me her city street smarts. You know what I mean? So it's drilled in me. And I try to drill it into my kids. But we're pretty blessed. We have had people like go onto our property and they said that they were hungry. We gave them food, but we're like, hey, please don't come back. You kind of just have to be firm. Our intention is aloha, and we can see that this person is suffering, but we also have to protect ourselves and our family. So there is a line that does have to be drawn. Sometimes you have to call the law enforcement and just kind of let them know. So sometimes you do have to get to that point, but again, always lead with aloha. I always have sympathy, sympathy for people because I know that they're hurting and they're going through something. So yeah, protect yourself before, like I said, do the things that will keep you safe so you don't get into the situations if possible.
That was perfectly spoken, Rachel. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, we have to have boundaries, but at the same time, like you said, safety, protect yourself first and foremost. Call authorities should that escalate, because we live in a world that, yes, not everyone is going to be peaches and cream and butterflies. And yes, we do need to be aware and be mindful of our surroundings, right? Everywhere we go. Josie, can you go ahead and enhance or enlighten in that area as well?
Yeah, I think the word boundary really works. That's actually one of my favorite things about living here is almost everyone I've met and made friends with, everybody's very clear on boundaries. And I think it's because time is precious and it really is recognized here that time is precious. So, I mean, when I hang out with Rachel a lot, when she's like, oh, I can't do that, I'm not taking it personally. I'm just like, okay, that's a boundary. That's great. When people's personal space and boundaries are crossed, I'm kind of the same as Rachel. Like I grew up definitely with a lot of awareness. And I just had this happen the other day where I walked in a place that I always walk into and I just had like an inkling and I always look around and I looked around and I was like, something's not right. And so I left. And right as I was leaving, I heard somebody start yelling and I was like, yeah, it's not that it was even to me. It was that I just noticed something was amiss. And so I just thought I don't need to be involved in it and went somewhere else and it was not a problem. But that's actually one of the things about this state and the island and the town that I'm in is I feel like people are really aware of like the intuitive sense, its boundaries and intuition. And I feel like people follow those really effortlessly. And so I feel like I should go with that too. And that's something I've learned since I've been here.
That's so beautiful, and that it's contagious. You go ahead and do all these things, being aloha, being gracious. These are just fruits that it's contagious. And thank you, ladies, for just continuing to be great stewards of being in Hawaii and embracing our land and our people, and just doing the right thing, living pono, doing things right the first time. Even if it's not being done onto you, you just magnify it 100% back to them. And it just makes Hawaii so much more special. Everything it's sacred. It is such a beautiful place. And like you all said, we're just so blessed and privileged to be a part of it, right? Danielle, go ahead and share with us on that same note, anything more that you can go ahead and share with us on your experience.
So I was raised to do Kung Fu Karate. So I have this inner strength in me that I can handle. And then my faith. So I walk around with this air of confidence that I can handle. But if someone's not being aloha, if the husband's around, I let him handle it. But actually, my thing is I look into their eyes and I give them the mommy look.
Mommy bear look, right?
And they it stops them in their track, I feel, because of course I've run into people like that in situations like that. But I swear when you look into someone's eyes and you let them know, I see you, and this is unacceptable, mommy love, they stop.
They know the boundary, right?
Yes.
Love that.
I love that too.
Right.
Really good.
And I'm also the chief of police. Our chief of police is my client. So I also feel like I can just.
As you say that, Danielle, it's super important to have your trusted resources. You have your connection and those that you can always reach out to. I mean, that is just so beautiful, because also, not only in Hawaii, everywhere we go, is once you burn one bridge, believe it or not, bad news spreads like wildfire. I'm sure you ladies can agree. So once you burn bridges like that, immediately that's just going to trickle on and live with you forevermore until you can rekindle the goodness and try to bring the light in all of that. Right, ladies? I mean, you agree with me, right? Bad news travels so fast. Once you burn bridges, it's like, everyone's going to know all the things about you, right? So super important, as Danielle said, is, keeping people close to you, having your trusted resources that you can always call upon for extra reinforcements and guidance, right? Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much for your time. Let's go ahead before we wrap it up. Any last or final closing thoughts that you'd like to share? We'll go ahead and start with you, Rachel.
Let's see. Just my advice to make new friends coming here is, again, be yourself. Don't be over eager. Take a step back, read the room, practice aloha, and show up.
Beautiful. How about for you, Josie?
I think one of the biggest things is also taking time, as Rachel said, take a step back, chill, and really get connected with the land. Because if you can tune into the land here, it will change your rhythm. It will change your patterning. It will change your appreciation. And that is something that is valued here and is important and is real. And so I really recommend that.
Beautiful. I love that. Definitely ditto on what you ladies just said. And how about for you, Danielle?
I was just going to say that, Josie, there is a certain level of mana, reverence, that the aina gives off. And that I feel Rachel and Josie are so in tune with. And of course, Misty, listen, hear, feel, like literally go to the beach, put your bare feet on the sand, in the water, feel it, be it. When you fight that mana from the aina, that is when things don't go well for you and you are so negative and focused on negativity in everything. You wonder why? Just go to the beach and feel it. I love that, Josie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, so true. I love that, ladies. You've summed everything all up. And of course, as I always say, is for me, it's just, yes, aloha living everywhere you go. and just being the better person, doing the right thing, being pono, doing it right the first time. Even if it's not being done onto you, just go ahead and magnify that spirit of aloha so much that it can just be contagious and spread that like wildfire throughout. And that's just super important to me and my family, and of course our culture. And that just keeps Hawaii, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Beautiful. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, visit livinginhawaii.com. We would love to be your trusted local resource. Please feel free to reach out to us at any time. And thank you once again for spending the day with us, and continue to live aloha daily everywhere you go. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.